Hello, everybody. I hope you had a great week. Hope it's about to get a little bit better. So, I don't know why the chat is so offset, but it is what it is. Nothing I can do, but I digress. So, yeah, like I said, I hope everybody's been having a great week. And we're back once again to the Ukraine cinematic universe as we continue onward. Um, as we continue onward to cover the ongoing saga, the ongoing dumpster fire that is Ukraine. That is Project Ukraine, should I say? So, before we get into the video proper, we're just going to do a couple fun stories. Now, the sources should all be in the description if you wanted to look at any of them. So I'll just leave that there. So let's see here. Okay, let me just switch this to live chat. So I can see what people are actually saying. Let me just see here. I think I got chat to work. There we go. We got this. We got this by the ass. Okay, so let's just do a couple fun stories to start off with. So, firstly, we have this from the Daily Mail. China and Russian AI with access to nukes could start World War III and spark Armageddon. U.S. fears computer miscalculations could see missiles launched at America. Now, I don't get why this is only the AI of the of Russia and China, like that no other country in the world would use AI. I almost feel like if anybody's going to use AI, it's like somebody at like America who thinks they're doing something super I don't know. Washington, London, Paris have all agreed to maintain total human control over nuclear weapons. So we think it's important for them to do it. AI is facing an Oppenheimer moment where if we don't stop the AI now, it's going to be too late. Yeah, you make a good point, God. Like, why? It doesn't mention India and Pakistan. Like, are you more concerned that, like, some Indian scammer will put, like, or some, India or Pakistan will put their AI under the control of, like, the AI they use to scam people? Um, I don't know. So yeah, that's the plan. Okay, so on that note, though, with regards to AI, so we can talk about the dead hand system. So Russia has something called the dead hand system, and I have researched in this in the past, and honestly, I'm not sure what it does exactly. So the traditional understanding of the dead hand system is if a nuclear weapon goes off in Russia, then a automated system fires all of the nukes at America at pre-planned targets. Now that's one version of it. There's a debate as to whether it's always on or it's only sometimes on. There's also a debate as to whether it's immediate or if somebody has to hit a button every couple minutes or something like that. Or there's a lot of different versions of it. The ultimate goal, though, is to prevent Russia from being taken out of the fight with with a decapitation strike. There's something that's switched on at some point that if Russia gets attacked with nuclear weapons and they succeed in killing most of the leadership, there is still it's still automated to fire back. But I've seen all kinds of different theories as to what the dead hand system is. Other than just sounds cool. Okay, that's the wrong one. Why did this not? So on the topic of AI, and we have, you know what? This might have to get an RG award. So Ukraine unveils AI spokesperson provides timely updates amid war. It's a black woman. Wow. What? Ukrainian singer and influencer Roselle Nombry. Is she black? Is she? Actually, I don't know. Maybe she is. So this is the new face of Ukraine, everybody. This is the Ukraine's decided that they're gonna like use a AI spokeswoman of a black woman to represent the nation of Ukraine. I mean, if they wanted to get like a woman, just get an OnlyFans model or get like a get an OnlyFans model or just recruit someone off of Pornhub or something like that. Like 50% of those come from, I don't know, Czech Republic, Russia, or Ukraine. So just get one of them, hire one of them, and they could do like, you could put news updates behind a paywall on OnlyFans, and you could raise money for the war effort that way. Based on the likeness of Ukrainian singer and influencer, the avatar is dressed all in black with the Ukraine flag. Stress the digital person are two different people in the video released by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. She introduced herself and described her role in job functions, saying she was built to protect the rights and interests of Ukrainian citizens abroad. So I like how they deliberately picked... they don't even address it. It's just normal. She's an ethnic Ukrainian. Her people have been there since before the Khazars. So that is kind of our clown world. I don't know. Is this an improvement over the tranny? I'm not really sure, to be honest. But okay. And Putin's just like, I'm not impressed by your nonsense. Okay, so we have that. So, proving once again that NGOs are completely full of shit. Ukraine is somehow increasing in its press freedom. It went up 16 spots. I guess because it banned literally every opposition newspaper. So if you ban all of them, then there's nothing more to ban. So it's like the number they banned went down because they banned everything else. So let's see what countries are considered less free than Ukraine, more or less free than Ukraine. Why is this in German? I don't want this to be in German. Although I'm going to Germany in a couple months, so it'll be good. Press freedom. So let's see. What countries are less free than Ukraine? Okay, so according to this, wow, this looks like shit. So according to this, Russia's of course less free than Japan. Than Ukraine. Japan's about the same. Indonesia's less free. Singapore's less free. See, Singapore is an authoritarian country because the people there like the People's Action Party and they don't want like pause and they don't want NGOs. So okay, let's see. World Press Freedom Index. Okay, so let's just see. So let's see who Ukraine is up against. Okay, Afghanistan. Does Afghanistan even have a press? It's an interesting question. Let's see. Where is Haiti? How do countries that don't have a government rate on this scale? Okay, well, I guess they rate pretty low. Hungary's, of course, up there because Hungary is not a free country. Japan isn't. South Korea isn't. So Ukraine. Okay, so let's see. What countries are less free or are more free than Ukraine? Liberia. Liberia is a bastion of human rights. Gabon. Didn't Gabon just have a coup? Yeah, Gabon had a coup. So according to this, So the United States is next to um, Gabon, which is currently ruled by a military junta. Okay, no, I'm looking at this in the wrong direction. So, okay, so let's see what countries they say are less free than Ukraine. So, in Japan, the media is less free. In Hungary, it's less free. In Argentina, it's less free. In Cyprus, uh, Botswana, Brazil has less free media than Ukraine. Panama does. Thailand does. Greece has more media censorship than Ukraine. That's an interesting one to know. Israel. Oh no, it's like another Shoah. Indonesia has less press freedom than Ukraine. Jordan. Obviously, El Salvador does because it's Bukele, and Bukele is evil. See, where's Russia on this list? Russia is like it's max unfree. So we have that. So Ukraine once again, bastion of democracy. I just here's a this is completely unrelated, but this is just a clown world from Canada. Periods are a nightmare in Gaza's crowded unsanitary camps. Women are using birth control to skip them. For many, birth control is cheaper than the soaring cost of pads and tampons. Maybe this is like Israel's master plan. Like they're gonna get all the Palestinian women to destroy their reproductive systems with birth control pills, and then that's gonna make them infertile or cause breast or cervical cancer or something like that. And yeah. Now, here's the thing. Now, there was kind of a funny. I'm sorry. This is just a side note for a second. So, Gavin Newsom did a post on Twitter where he was taking a clip of Charlie Kirk, and Charlie Kirk said birth control destroys women. If you know any women who are on it, you should try to get them to stop. And he did his like, oh, Charlie Kirk wants to take away your reproductive rights. And literally, I think every woman in the thread, including the like liberal ones, were like, no, it's the birth control is really bad for you. It causes cancer. It causes all kinds of stuff. It's once again like even back when I was not anti-abortion, I was just like, you know what? Maybe like pumping people full of synthetic hormones that mess with your body's reproductive system is not a good idea. But that's just me. That's an anti-woman position. So, caring that something might be giving women breast cancer is an anti-woman position. So this is Center for European Policy Alternatives. So they're talking about this is like a puff piece to join Azov. So yeah, join Azov. We have the Nazi wolf angle. It's cool. The broader Azov nationalist movement. That's cool. So we have that, and then we have we have Dmitry Medvedev being a gamer. I think we covered this already. But he said that. Let's see here. Okay. Let's read his gamer post. Our NATO friends have a new mantra. Okay, so let's see here. This means they will become part of the regular forces who are now. This is referring to NATO troops being. What's wrong, Ray? I don't know. Being deployed to Ukraine. This would mean they will become part of the regular forces who are now fighting against us, which is why they can only be treated as enemies and not just enemies, but as elite detachments, Hitler's SS Punishers. And there can only be one rule for these overseas lice, who, unlike the unfortunate Ukrainians, were not forced to go to war. No prisoners taken. And for each NATO fighter killed, blown up, or burned, there must be a maximum reward. and no bodies back. Let the relatives suffer. That is a gamer post. Medvedev might be in the running for Gamer of the Year if only we didn't have barbecue. Because like I'm just gonna spoiler, barbecue's gonna win Gamer of the Year. How can like a gang warlord not? So we are having another peace conference. I've covered this in the past. We had, I think this is the third or fourth one. Maybe this is like the fourth or fifth, or something like that. Where they keep having these peace conferences and Russia's not invited. So they're like, we're going to have a peace conference in Switzerland, and they aren't invited. So the Swiss government was like, no, Russia, like, okay, so you're not invited to participate, but you can come if you want to without an invitation, and we will have a meeting to decide what the terms of the peace treaty will be, and you can just be there to sign them. We will. You can just wait in the other room while the adults talk about it, and then you can sign the peace agreement after we're done talking. And Switzerland said that to Russia, and Russia just told them to fuck off. So that is that aspect of it. Let me just see here. So. Okay. So Peskov did not see it as okay. Swiss government said on Thursday, at this stage, Russia is not among the dozens of countries invited. Added that while it was open to including Russia, Moscow had repeatedly underlined it had no interest. Switzerland said it would host the summit. Kremlin did not see it as a credible initiative. We don't understand what kind of milestone it is, this peace conference. What kind of conference can we talk about with serious expectations of some kind of results without the participation of Russia? This is completely impossible. It is clear that this is some kind of initiative that is not focused on results. The Swiss government said a peace process without Russia is not possible. We're going to have it anyways. Zelensky has said this is the first real chance to start restoring a just peace. So, guys, we're going to have this peace conference. Russia's not going to be invited to the peace conference. And then once the peace conference is over, Russia will accept the terms that we come up with because they're losing, and everything will be great. Now, this is based on the Zelensky formula. Now, the Zelensky formula is Russia withdraws from all of Ukraine, including Crimea. Putin gets tried for war crimes. There's regime change, and Russia pays massive reparations. So that is what the treaties are going to be. Ukraine sees no place at summit for Russia. We know that it doesn't make sense to have Russia at the table if you cannot ensure that they act in good faith. Kuleba says putting Russia on the battlefield and putting pressure on the battlefield and bringing together countries who share principles should help to make Moscow more willing to engage in dialogue. I honestly don't understand this. Maybe I'm just so, as I've said many times, English is my first language. And I feel like saying we can't have Russia at the table, we're not going to invite Russia, but we have to pressure Russia to engage in dialogue. I feel like there's some sort of contradiction there. I could be wrong. I might be wrong. I might just not be big-brained enough to get it. I feel like those two things are mutually exclusive. So Zelensky peace formula, which is everything. Withdrawal of Russian troops, bringing Russia to account for its actions, as well as other proposals, all kinds of other stuff. Inspire a future peace process. It's to inspire a peace process. It's not to have anything resembling a peace process. It's just to inspire one. Then we have Al Arabiya. So Russia told them to F off. Where is the neutral? Yeah. So Russia said Switzerland adopted EU sanctions despite not being part of the EU and bringing together countries who share principle. Okay, no, sorry. Against Moscow over its invasion of Ukraine, and therefore it lacks credibility as a neutral broker. This is what Switzerland got in on. Like, they didn't freeze Nazi assets until literally 1945, like the last couple months of the war. So they were okay with that. They were okay with the Nazi war assets being used to fund the Holocaust. But Putler is worse. Putler's worse than Hitler. Like, maybe 12,000 civilians have died in Ukraine over the last, 2 years. Maybe. And compared to the 20 million, that's just, the 20 million is a drop in the bucket. Okay, so before we get into the rest, we get into Macron's latest, I don't even know what it is. Let's take a look at Deep State UA. So this is the pro-Ukrainian live map, but we're going to take a look at this. So I don't know if anyone remembers what the title is a reference to. Let me see here. I think that was Millie. I'm pretty sure that's Millie. I'm trying to find that. I'm trying to find it. I'm trying to find it. I'm pretty sure Millie said momentum is somewhat in the Taliban's favor. Let me see. I think it is on the Wikipedia page if it's not there. Oh, sort of. Okay, it wasn't even somewhat. So this was like a genius. This was the military genius statement from Millie. Momentum was sort of on the side with the Taliban. Sort of. Ukraine is only sort of winning now. Keep in mind, Millie is also the one. I just want to repeat this because Millie is just such a... I don't know if anyone remembers this.
10 days from now is the 1-year anniversary. Way, religious plants, fired, lost. NATO and this coalition has never been stronger, and Russia is now a global pariah, and the world remains inspired by Ukrainian bravery and resilience. In short, Russia has lost. They've lost strategically, operationally, and tactically, and they are paying an enormous price on the battlefield. But until Putin ends his war of choice.
So once again, that was Millie. Okay, so looking at Deep State UA, so Russia has acknowledged for the first time that there is a offensive. Shoigu the other day at a briefing said that there is an offensive underway. Now, whether or not the offensive is targeted anywhere in particular, or if it's just like across the entirety of the front, it's kind of hard to say. Now, for a long time, and we talked about this last week, there is a belief that Kharkov is the current strategic objective, that the next major objective is going to be taking Kharkov. Because that is Ukraine's second biggest city, and it is considered a kind of a jewel of the Russian Empire, if I'm correct. And it's one of those things that if this war is going to end with Russia taking whatever territory it takes, Kharkov and Odessa are probably on the list. As I can't recall if they were both founded by Catherine the Great, or if they were there. I don't know. Anyways, those are important cities to them. So, what is that? Okay. So if we look at the various fronts, sorry, I can't pronounce some of these words. Ukrainian spelling is also just really weird. Okay, so we see that Russia is advancing here in the north towards Kupiansk. It looks like they're coming in from multiple directions, so I'm not sure if the goal is to do a pincer or just to hit from both directions. But they will be able to take that, and then they will be across the Oskol River. So that is up in the north, and once again, I think Kupiansk, and someone can correct me, is the last somewhat fortified town before Kharkov. So we have that there. Now we have down here in the, is this Bakhmut? I think this is Bakhmut. Sorry, I get confused with some of these. It all kind of looks similar to me. Is that? Oh no, Chasiv Yar is down there. Okay, we have another offensive that is starting here. As you can see, they've started to push. I'm not as familiar with that particular area, although I'm starting to see kind of a trend here. If you look at it, it looks like that the Russians are pushing on certain parts of the front line. I'm not sure if the goal is for a pincer, but if we look here, that's starting to look like a salient. They could go and turn around. Now, to encircle, you don't necessarily need to 100% encircle. If you can get it like that, much or so, then you'll have fire control encirclement, which means you can bombard anything in here and anything that comes in. If we look at Chasiv Yar, which I think is one of the few fortified cities, I think it might be the most fortified city left. The Russians are just pushing really hard there, outside of the Bakhmut direction. Something that we've been seeing a lot of in the last couple weeks is, since Avdiivka fell, the pace has really been speeding up. Like, Russia is capturing villages on almost a daily basis at the moment. Before, it would take months of just slow grinding. But now it appears they're actually starting to make progress. Now, we haven't seen any big aero offensives yet or any mechanized... there's been like a couple mechanized attacks, but like big columns like we saw at the start of the war. But they are definitely starting to push. The big breakthrough, though, at least breakthrough by the standards of this war, is at Avdiivka. I mean, that was only a month ago. They've moved quite a bit. Once again, as far as this war goes, that is a lot of ground that they're taking. They have a lot of dudes in there. And I don't know, this kind of looks like this is a pincer, or this is a salient or an encirclement or something like that. Once again, I don't know. Just looking at it as a layman, it looks like there's a lot of cases where they're trying to do some sort of encirclement. And we've started to push in Robotina down in the south. So, most of the territory Ukraine took back, basically outside of the north, Russia has pushed them back. I think pretty much everything from the counteroffensive has been retaken. I think that's the only spot of the counteroffensive that is left that they retook is that little piece of ground there. But they are pushing all along the front line. I've heard increasing reports that Ukrainians have started to units have started to refuse to go into battle because Syrskyi and Zelensky don't let them retreat. So whenever a village gets attacked, they try to send troops in there to hold it at all costs, and then they just get slaughtered. Like, they basically just send people in to die. Morale is at a record low. There's no weapons. Most of the guys don't have any training. The whole thing is just a fucking disaster. So some people are suggesting, and we've heard this before, but that this might be the beginning of the end. That if Russia keeps building up momentum, they're going to be able to the Ukrainian army will just collapse at some point in time. That they don't have the trained manpower yet left to defend. Especially if you look at it, Russia's attacking on a lot of different locations. The issue, once again, for Ukraine isn't necessarily manpower, it's trained manpower. Russia has been, to my understanding, giving all of its recruits standard military training, which takes up to, I guess, about up to a year. So that's part of the reason why they have been paused for so long. Was they wanted to get the conscripts trained up, but also just there's been a lot of volunteers joining, and I don't think they wanted to attack until those guys had received proper training. The Ukrainian soldiers, by and large, don't have any. Maybe a week or two. If they were saying they would, but the Banderite blocking troops won't let them fold. No, the Banderites won't actually go into battle. Interestingly, the Azov boys will not go in. They've started to just disobey orders. So, like, whenever Zelensky tells them to go into these impossible situations, they just don't do it. And I think Right Sector also doesn't do it, and some of the other ones don't. So I just want to say, and I'm sorry if this makes it sound like I'm pandering or something, but I think we all just have to once again give all the credit in the world to the Ukrainian army. And as I've said, Zelensky doesn't deserve to have men like that fighting on his behalf. The Ukrainian army, given all the problems they've had, given that they're led by retards like Zelensky, Zelensky, and Sersky, that Victoria Nuland and Darkside Biden and Schultz and all of these, and Macron, and all of these assholes are running things from behind the scenes and making decisions and running it as the fucking Ukraine cinematic universe and releasing trailers for offensives. They have done, I think, more than anyone could have been asked to do. The kind of stuff that they've had to put up with. That's not even bringing the Russians. They've had to deal with all this nonsense and stuff like that, and they have held. They have not broken. They've obviously lost some. They've gotten pushed back, but even now they're still fighting on. They're still giving the Russians trouble, and the Russians have complete air superiority, fire superiority, supply superior, just in every way. And my point is, if the Ukrainian army breaks at this point and they start collapsing and they start surrendering, I don't want to hear anyone calling them cowards or weak or anything like that. They have done more than I think anyone could reasonably expect them to do. They aren't going to win, and I don't want all those brave men to die for what's basically a lost cause. Die because Lindsey Graham wants to kill Russians. Die because Macron wants to kill Russians so he can be Napoleon the Fourth or whatever. Like, guys, you don't have to die for Zelensky. These guys don't care about you. They don't give a shit about you. They just care about their looking good on the 6 o'clock news. Once again, this is we're going to take a look at my favorite scene probably from or one of my favorite scenes from Battle of Waterloo.
Courageux Français! Vous avez fait tout ce que l'honneur exigeait. Sa grâce, le duc de Wellington, souhaite vous épargner la vie. Est-ce que vous consentez à vous rendre? Merde! La garde meurt et ne se rend pas!
The guard does not surrender. So, once again, you can say it, they're stupid or whatever, but they have been immensely brave. And I don't think I could have lasted under those circumstances, to be honest, that they are facing. So, anyways, sorry if that was too much of an emotional aside. Just I've tried very hard throughout this, even if I do tend to be pro-Russia. I don't think I've ever shit on the Ukrainian people or on the army. I shit on Biden, I shit on Zelensky, all these fucking assholes, but the Ukrainian people are really victims in this. Of both sides, of both the Russians and the West. but more so the West, because the West has no skin in the game. Like, they don't care about Ukraine. It's the middle of nowhere. It's somewhere in the Orient. It's somewhere in Eastern Europe. They don't care about it. They aren't their ally. They aren't their friend. They're just their proxy. They're just there to kill Russians, to the last Ukrainian. So this is Macron. His new genius plan. So Macron is, I don't know if he's schizophrenic or he's just an egomaniac or he thinks he's a genius or something, but Macron has been probably the most unhinged world leader during this entire crisis, and that is saying a lot when we have Zelensky and Darkside Brandon and Justo and all these other assholes. He's been by far the most unhinged. Because what happens with Macron is he alternates between saying something like reasonable and being the most hardcore. So he will sometimes be like, we should try to come to some sort of agreement, figure this stuff out, stuff like that. And then he will go back and be like, no, we need to send NATO troops to Ukraine. We need to start World War III. We need to do all this insane shit. So he just goes back and forth, and you have no idea what that guy is going to do. So Macron has said that if Putin breaks through the front lines and Zelensky bat phones him, then they could send troops. So The Economist gave an interviewed Macron. He said, Europe is mortal and could die partly if Russia wins in Ukraine. So if they bat phone France, he's going to come in. Now he keeps doing, so what keeps happening is he keeps announcing this, and then the US and Germany and Spain and everyone else just tell him to shut up. And then he like says that it was all part of his master plan. See, Macron came up with this, like, so what strategic so Macron talks about strategic ambiguity. So what strategic ambiguity is supposed to be is you keep your opponent guessing what you're going to do, and they will base their decisions on the worst possible scenario. So if you have nuclear weapons, they will base their policy on maybe you'll use nuclear weapons, maybe you will not. This is something that Israel does. But the benefit of strategic ambiguity is your opponent isn't sure, and you don't necessarily have to pay the political cost of threatening someone. So if there's strategic ambiguity that you're going to use military force or nuclear weapons or something, and your opponent considers this a possibility and acts based on it, and you don't have to directly threaten them, then you get the benefit of it without the political costs associated with it. Also, it's to a certain extent, if somebody's a wild card, and this was something Trump had, because no one knew what Trump was going to do, because Trump could, like, assassinate Soleimani, or he could make a deal, or he could go to North Korea. And that scared people, and people weren't really sure how to act to that. But what happened with Macron is when everybody shut him down and told him to F off, he just said it's strategic ambiguity. This whole thing was just irony, bro. It's just that. I'm not ruling anything out because we are facing someone who is not ruling anything out. And when asked if he stood by his comments earlier this year, not excluding the sending of Western troops, what's more, some analysts believe that Russia could be on the verge of launching a new offensive in Ukraine, but they're out. They're out of weapons. Macron said, if Russia decided to go further, we will in any case all have to ask ourselves this question of sending troops, describing his refusal to rule out such a move as a strategic wake-up call for my counterparts. So we've gone from strategic ambiguity. So strategic ambiguity is not enough anymore. Now it's a strategic wake-up call. It's a strategic wake-up call into strategic ambiguity. That's my guess. If Russia wins, there will be no security in Europe, he warned. Who can pretend that Russia will stop there? Why won't Russia invade Poland, Lithuania, or Romania or Moldova? Now, unless I was hallucinating, I'm pretty sure all of those countries other than Moldova are members of NATO. Let me just double check. Okay. Yeah. So Poland, Romania, and the Baltic states are all members of NATO. So that would trigger a war. So it's just I don't, unless we're going to go under the perspective that Putin is just completely retarded, I don't really get it, to be honest, how that's even possible. Let's see here. Berdici got occupied. Someone was asking for some sparkling water ASMR. There we go. That is a root beer flavored one. Okay, until Ukrainian forces on the... So this is the other, thing we keep hearing about. The reason Ukraine is losing is because they didn't get support for the 6 months it took to sign the thing or whatever it was, to get the bill signed. Now, the issue is that is not the case. They were receiving the money, excuse me, the weapons the whole time. It's just that the funding for it was not there. So Biden was just illegally sending weapons that weren't paid for to Ukraine. And that was the plan. That was the gay op, if you will. Okay, so what's next? Test. What does test mean? I mean, Moldova's a mess. I don't even half of or no, it's not half of Moldova. How much of Moldova is Transnistria? A fifth? Moldova's just kind of a mess, and it's always been a mess. I mean, if it's even a country, which is an open question. But okay, if Russia wins in Ukraine, there will be no security in Europe. Reaffirmed his previous statement backing Ukraine in the face of Russian battlefield advances. Once again, what's going to happen with these Ukrainian soldiers? These French soldiers. France is going to get 30,000 dudes together. They're going to send these 30,000 dudes to Ukraine. And, are they going to have the weapons they need? Are they going to have anything? Russia's just gonna smash them. Russia has I don't know how big the Russian army is, hundreds of thousands of people. They're gonna be massively outnumbered. Do the French soldiers have any experience fighting in a conventional war? No, they don't. And they'll get it, but they'll take a big beating before they do. Now, something I keep meaning to talk about, but I keep forgetting. So one of the ways that this is going to be very important for Russia in the future is getting officers and soldiers who have, particularly officers who have experience leading men in combat, is invaluable. There is a fundamental difference, at least from my understanding, between someone who's led men in combat, who understands the realities and stresses of it, and someone who has not. If you look at a lot of the officer corps in the U.S., a lot of them served during the Gulf War or Iraq and stuff like that. A lot of them, because of their veterancy in those wars, that was kind of a reason that they got promoted and stuff like that. And it's kind of where their credibility comes from. And their men respect them more because they were able to fight on that front. So my point is that Russia now has a massive reserve of officers who have years of experience. The Russian general staff has all kinds of experience now fighting a high intensity war. So that is gonna, for like the next 30, 40 years, gonna mean that Russia will have an experienced officer pool to draw upon, which is something you have to keep in mind. Like, when was the last time China actually fought a war? The Chinese army isn't blooded, it isn't tested. I guess the invasion of Vietnam, maybe, which they lost. So so nothing can be ruled out. His comments: German Chancellor Scholz has been weary of drawing NATO into direct conflict with Russia. It was quick to rule out. The U.S. has said it will not send boots on the ground, but sent the money. France is sending a bunch more. So the new scam that they're coming up with, and I don't have it in front of me, is they're trying to do a 10-year funding for... we're going to have 10 years of funding for Zelensky. So this is the plan. The plan is we're going to have 10 years of funding for the war. And this is not going to be revocable. So, so Trump can't stop it. They're just going to keep going. They're just going to keep going indefinitely. We're going to have the 10-year war, the 10-year funding plan. Now, what this reminds me of, and what the whole Ukraine thing reminds me of, is there's a clip I've been wanting to use. Okay, this one. This the 10 years immediately made me think of this.
We've decided to keep you here for another 50 cycles. With endless options for renewal. With endless options for renewal. With endless options for renewal.
That's how I feel about the 10-year funding agreement. Okay, so also I just like using clips from random movies, as you may have noticed. Okay, so this was another one. Macron wants to join World War III because he envies Boris Johnson. That's a bad sign. If Boris Johnson is your hero and the dude you look up to, that is not like a place that you should be. So, what? And then he put out this cringe. It's no, he wants to be the EU's Boris Johnson, because Boris Johnson is a man of strength. He's a war leader. He I don't even know. I don't know. So that's his plan. That's his plan. Now, okay, so before we get into the rest of this, we're going to take a look at WMD2 Electric Boogaloo. So for those of you who are too young, the premise for the invasion of Iraq was that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. That is, that Iraq had chemical weapons, it had biological weapons, it had nuclear weapons. It was going to use these weapons of mass destruction to attack the U.S., or they were going to give them to Al-Qaeda, or they were going to carry out 9/11 times 1,000. So, interestingly, as Ukraine is starting to lose and things are going poorly, we're starting to see articles like this. Russia carrying out illegal chemical attacks on Ukrainian soldiers. Where have I seen this before? Russia's winning, but suddenly at the 11th hour, they're going to bring out chemical weapons and start using those, because, like, I don't even think, like, Russia would have moral qualms about using them. That's not really my point. I just don't understand why they would risk, when the war is going well, doing this. Like, because people don't like chemical weapons. The international community doesn't like chemical weapons. Nobody likes them. So I don't really know why they would do this. Okay, Russian troops are carrying out a systematic campaign of illegal chemical attacks against Ukrainian soldiers, according to Telegraph Investigations, the most reliable news source. The Telegraph spoke to a number of Ukrainian soldiers deployed in positions across the front line, who detailed that their positions have been coming attack near daily from small drones, mainly dropping tear gas, but also other chemicals. I mean, is tear gas even, like, what even is? I mean, the police are using tear gas against the dudes on campus, aren't they? Like, isn't that what they're doing at the moment? Like, they're using tear gas against the guys who are occupying the campuses. The police use tear gas all the time against rioters and stuff like that. Yeah, it even says here, commonly used by riot police is banned during wartime over the Chemical Weapons Convention. So it's not even like Russia's using sarin gas or like anthrax or stuff like that. It's fucking tear gas and other chemicals, whatever that means, just random other chemicals. By the way, didn't the US use white phosphorus? Does anyone remember that? When they were using white phosphorus? Let's see. Israel uses white phosphorus as well. They aren't sanctioned for it. White phosphorus. No, I know, Charlemagne, I know that tear gas is probably considered a chemical weapon. I'm just saying that this is the best thing that they could come up with. Like, the best thing they could come up with was that Russia was using tear gas. Like, and we have to intervene because of that. Like, can we at least get, like, an interesting narrative? Okay, so I think the Israeli army... Okay, so this is from Washington Post. Israel used U.S.-supplied white phosphorus in Lebanon attack. Oh no. They're doing this. I actually am kind of I don't know. Now, is it possible that some Russian units are using tear gas? I mean, it's certainly possible, but like, it sounds like it's a couple one-offs. It doesn't sound like this is like a mass thing. Like, it doesn't sound like Russia is throwing in like hundreds of sarin nerve gas shells or stuff like that. Now, Israel used white phosphorus, so I don't know if anyone's ever seen white phosphorus before, but it is some very nasty shit. It just burns everything.
The topic.
So let me just see here. So phosphorus, I believe, lights on fire when it interacts with oxygen. Yeah, when it reacts with oxygen, it just explodes, and it sticks to everything. So what they do is you put that in shells, and the shells explode, and they spray white phosphorus everywhere. And then it just ignites and it chemically burns everything. It is a really nasty weapon. Like, I don't mean to sound like a pussy or something, or like I'm a shitlib. I do once again kind of support the Geneva Convention, and I do support things that restrictions on chemical weapons. Like, I don't think that these things should be used. I get that, like, normal stuff is pretty bad, and artillery shells and bullets and stuff are bad, but it is a horrific weapon. I'm not sure of how long it lasts for. The problem with depleted uranium shells is the idea that they're radioactive isn't really the big issue with them. The big issue with depleted uranium is uranium's a heavy metal and it's toxic. For my understanding, is is what it's been what it's used for. Is the issue with it? I don't think it really does that much damage in terms of radioactivity, but I think it's a bit like lead. If someone could maybe explain that, like if somebody knows more about that, please post in the chat. I'm willing to be disproved by that. But my point is, Israel did that, and I'm pretty sure the U.S. used that in Iraq and Afghanistan. It's a horrific thing. Like the other thing I think what it, and I was very critical of this at the time, the minefields that Fallujah that Russia has laid are going to be like a mess for decades to come. Landmines are horrific weapons. It's landmines are horrific weapons, and you never get all of them, and they can last for decades, and people will just go across, and kids will get blown up, and cars will get blown up. It is horrific, and the U.S. bringing in cluster bombs is also horrific. Cluster bombs, are cluster bombs banned? Yeah, there was a treaty that banned cluster bombs, which I don't think the U.S. signed. Yeah, the U.S. and Russia haven't signed. Once again, I kind of support some of these things because... So, the problem with cluster bombs... Let me see if I can find a cluster bomb. Sorry, we'll get back to this in a minute, but I just trying to be somewhat balanced because while I don't necessarily believe in global government, I do agree that civilized society should not do certain things. Or should try to avoid things. Okay, so cluster bomb. So cluster bombs, as you can see, are full of dozens of little bombs, and they will just saturate an area. They are extremely effective against light vehicles and infantry. If you've played Helldivers 2, you'll know that they hit a very broad area, and they tend to kill your team. The problem is there's a certain percentage of the bomblets that do not explode, and the bomblets that do not explode are sometimes still active, and someone might come along, a kid might pick one up and blow their arm off. They're horrendous weapons. It's bad enough to use weapons in general, but stuff that lingers for decades is not good. So Ukrainian troops are now finding it difficult, adding the only way... Okay, he said because of how embedded many Ukrainian troops are, it was difficult for the Russians to attack with conventional artillery or drones firing missiles. Adding the only way for them to successfully attack us was with gas. Even when not lethal or immediately incapacitating, these gas attacks usually cause panic. The first instinct is to get out. That can be, they can then be attacked with more conventional weapons. So Russia's losing, and in their desperation, they're resorting to that. Now, what is in smoke grenades? Could it be that the Russians are dropping smoke grenades, maybe? Because that seems more... I don't know if that is... that is restricted. I'm pretty sure they aren't. So, because I could see the Russians like using drones to drop smoke grenades to obscure the Ukrainian vision. I don't know what the thing is on that. So, I think some of them are white phosphorus, but anyways. Let's see here. Oh, okay. They found one. They found the grenade. They found the tear gas grenade that was recovered by Ukrainian soldiers and verified by a chemical weapons expert. Mr. Michael Blom. Where is it? It's Michael Blom. That 626 gas attacks have been carried out. If the Ukrainians claim it, then that's just what happens. our duty as journalists is just to believe. Oh man, they're using pesticide. They're using chlorine gas. There have also been reports of chlorine gas. Are they going to use Zyklon B? Is that where this is heading? That the Putler is going to use Zyklon B, against the Ukrainians? The deaths of many Ukrainian soldiers are not properly investigated. There are just so many of them, but there aren't any deaths. It's Zelensky, and I just bring this up constantly. Zelensky. By the way, and I have to put it up, I did watch the first episode of Rings of Power, did a commentary track to it. That is up on Odyssey and BitChute. I'll put a link to that up at some point. I did a review of the episode. Apparently, I was unfair to it afterwards because I thought a lot of things that didn't actually happen did happen. Apparently, it was more accurate than I thought it was, so whatever. What was I looking for again? Oh, yeah. So remember this. Zelensky said 31,000 Ukrainians have died. Also note how they always say full scale. They have to say full scale. It's only 31 guys have died, not 300,000, not 150,000 or whatever Putin is saying. Now the US said it was like 70 plus, but the US is where Russian bots run the United States. So according to Zelensky, 31,000 Ukrainians have died and 200,000 Russians. So we have a 10-1 or an 8 or 9 or 10-1 kill ratio. So I don't understand why they can't investigate that many. That sounds like the number of people who die in Chicago in a year from homicides. We have gas masks. They don't work though. So yeah, Zelensky warns there's a missile shortage. I thought that there was I thought they got a whole bunch of missiles. Where is this coming from? So I think Russia has weapons of mass destruction. And this means that we need to invade. We need to go to war with Russia because of that. Now, the Wall Street Journal, and this is kind of a follow-up on a side story, has admitted Putin didn't whack Navalny. Putin didn't directly order Alexei Navalny's February death. U.S. spy agencies fined. So remember when Navalny died and everyone said Putin killed him, and they demagogued on it and they kvetched over it, and they said we need to go to war with Russia and we need to start World War III because the Putler killed Navalny, and he killed Navalny 2 days before they were going to exchange him for some high value Russian spies or something like that. No, it turns out they didn't. It turns out. And Budanov, okay, can you do a fear and hunger stream? Okay, every time you say fear and hunger stream, it puts it off. Let me just look. What even is this? I might. I admit I'm going to cave soon on Legend of the Galactic Heroes. I just haven't decided what format I'm going to do it in. I haven't decided if Legend of the Galactic Heroes is going to be, if I'm going to do commentary on every episode or what, because I want to make a bunch of different videos. Thank you for the money, though. I appreciate it. I don't know. This is like a dungeon crawler. I don't really like dungeon crawlers, to be honest. I don't know. Vid Deep, look at the RPG that hates you. Okay, I'll look at it. I just am not the biggest dungeon crawler fan. I'm not even a fan of the Atlas ones. I just find they tend to just go on too long. So, sorry, but I will look at that at some point. Putin didn't directly. Okay, so yeah, so Navalny just now is Putin responsible for Navalny's death? Yes, he was kept in an Arctic gulag. So I've never doubted that. I've just said that the whole narrative that Putin had him whacked at an inopportune time. Yeah, so he didn't. There was no smoking gun. Okay, so I love how it's always an unnamed source. It's always an unnamed source who does this. It's somebody who we can't even like talk about. Okay, so Shoigu said some are offensive. I put that article in the description. What else do we have? We have some. Okay, we're gonna do some cope videos. So here's some cope videos that we're getting that Ukraine's winning. Putin's fuel problem: how Ukraine is sapping Russia's diesel and gasoline. Ukraine is taking out oil refineries inside Russia, cratering Moscow supplies and sending local prices soaring. So, my understanding is they're doing some damage to them, but drones don't really have a big explosive warhead, I don't think. The Russians are putting up nets or chain link in front of these things to catch the drones. Now, I don't think it's like in an action movie where if a drone, if a bit of fire hits one of the barrels, the whole thing just explodes, and then Arnold's running away without looking at the explosion. I'm sure it's damaging it a little bit, but I really don't. So according to this, Russia has left the Kremlin racing within its territory, was still waging war on its neighbor. But attacks have achieved the unthinkable, leaving the world's largest petrostate running low on petro. Diesel prices for Russian consumers have skyrocketed, rising almost 10% in the last week alone. 6 months high, up more than 20% from the start of the year. Let's see how much gas is in Russia. Liter of gas, Russia. So a liter of gas in Russia is that $1? Okay, so gas prices went up a bit after the beginning of the special military operation because of the sanctions, and then they gradually went back down. So according to them, they've gone up, way up. And by way up, I guess they mean they've gone from 56 cents a liter to 56 cents a liter to 60 cents a liter. Although it's still, if you look at what it was pre-war, it's still lower than it was pre-war. So it looks like, generally speaking, aside from the oil crisis of the mid-2010s, gas prices have been pretty stable. But I don't know. We'll just pretend that they know what they're talking about. 2 fuel storages owned by Russian energy giant Rosneft around 500 kilometers from the border with Ukraine were severely damaged by drones as fuel went up in smoke. More than a dozen refineries across Russia have been similarly hit this year, with officials in Kiev saying the industry is a legitimate target. Now, my understanding is Russia used this as a pretext to blow up bunch of the energy grid. I don't know how accurate that is, but that is that's just the way it is. They were probably going to do it anyways, but this gave them a reason. So, we're supposed to expect that Ukraine could destroy Russia's oil industry. Does Russia have nothing outside of the range of ATACMS? I don't know how much explosives they can take. So a couple things got hit. Um, more than a dozen refineries. Well, we don't know how badly they were hit. Being hit could mean anything from like they scratched the paint till they caused a chain reaction, the thing to blow up. I don't know. It's like a mosquito. You can't find it, can't kill it, but it comes back night after night. You're going to be exhausted. Philip Ingram said, it's a very good way of taking pressure off the front lines. What a cope. What a galaxy tier cope that is. Like, we're doing mosquito strikes, and this is going to, like, stop the Russian army somehow. Russia has scaled back its fuel exports to near historic lows. It's down. Let's see how many percentage points is that? How many percentage points is that? It's down 15%, I think. It's down 15% from last year. That is the Russia's diesel problem. I mean, this trend line looks pretty consistent to me. Average daily Russian diesel and gas exports in tons. It looks like it's higher in 2024. I don't know. People in the chat, does it look like it's that much lower than 2023, or am I just hallucinating? No, okay, so this is a 4-year average. So it looks pretty similar. I mean, the prices look a little more, the average amount looks a little bit different in terms of extremes, but it really doesn't look like... Also, they're including 2022, and 2022 was when the big sanctions helped. So this is a winning strategy. Okay, so here we go. This is a galaxy tier cope. Prices are unlikely to go down anytime soon, and the country may even need to import gasoline from reserves stored in Belarus. Last year, Moscow was forced to impose a ban on petrol and diesel exports as a result of shortages in the domestic market. So Russia's out of oil. Russia has no oil left. They've done it. They've done it. This is from December 2023, and Russia's the second highest oil producer in the world. That's not good. Well, I don't know. It's still winning. Here we go. And we have some more cope here. Russia's gas business will never recover. Hope of a Chinese rescue are increasingly... It's never going to be rebuilt, guys. This is worse than World War II. This is worse than when Germany, ravaged half of the country. Russia could recover from that, but they can't recover from this. Europe's gas tanks are fuller than ever. Are they, though? No, see, prices have gone down in Europe. Prices have gone down in Europe. Let's see, Russian government income. Let's see, what percentage is it that Russia actually gets from energy exports? Let's take a look at this. Let's see how much it is. I'm just trying to find it. I'm trying to find what it... Because it's down quite a bit. Percent of Russian budget oil. So Russia is currently... Okay, so 10 years ago, it accounted for 50%. Currently, it's about 28%. So it's quite a bit, but it's not like Saudi Arabia or something like that. I mean, it's quite a bit. But they have been trying to, I think, move away from it, because as they say, like, once again, I don't get how this is a flex. So 10 years ago, Russia had 50% of its tax revenue was from oil and gas, and now it's down to 25%. And this is like a flex of some sort. This is them saying like Russia's losing because they've reduced their reliance on oil resources and increased their exporting of services and manufactured goods. That is the flex that they're going to go with. Okay. Oh, okay. Here we go. Here's another one. It's just, these are just galaxy. Like, these are massive cups. Putin's gas empire has crumbled. It's crumbled. It's falling apart. Annual revenues. I mean, look at this chart. Look at this chart here. This proves everything. It's only higher than like most years. What? Oh, 1 second. I just left my phone on. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So Russia is so Russia is selling less to Europe. So Gazprom's revenues are the same basically before they were the start of the SMO. And their exports to Europe has dropped. So what they're saying is Russia successfully found alternative markets for their gas, and the sanctions didn't help them at all. See, like, once again, if you look at this, it's clearly gone down over time. If we look back at what it was in the 2010s, it's collapsed. Like, it's just the expectation that people don't actually read this. Like, that people don't read these charts. Let's see here. Where is it? Let's see how Germany's doing. Energy prices. Germany. Like, once again, you could say I'm biased. I'm literally just reading the articles that they put out. So electricity prices in Germany, they aren't as high as I thought they were. I thought they'd gone up more. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's stabilized somewhat. So I thought that they had gone up a lot since 2024, over the last little while. Okay, so that is Statista. Okay, so it's still about 50. No, it's still way higher than it was before the SMO. So before the special military operations started, it was about 20 to 50, it looks like, about on average. And now it's about 60 to 100 on average. Or 60 to maybe 120. So it has gone up a lot. Like, it's come back down. But during the phase out of the nuclear plants, it went up to like $470. It's gone up so much that they've had to bring back coal plants, and they've had to do other stuff like that. So yeah, so electricity prices are a fucking disaster. It's yeah. So apparently, a lot of businesses are moving to the United States now. So yeah, Russia's army is definitely beatable. It's 100% beatable. It needs a coherent approach. We speak to Colonel Hamish, DeBret, and Gordon. It still can be done. So it's collapsing, but people, it's collapsing. Let me see here. GDP growth rate Russia. Okay, so I okay, that's not what I was looking for. I'm looking for the current year. So Russia is projected to grow by 3% this year. Let's see what the U.S. is expected to grow by. Let's see what the U.S. is. United States of America. What's their economic growth? I want to look at the stats for the USA country data. Oh, why is this shit always so confusing? Okay, so this is reports by country. Okay, United States. We'll also look at Germany while we're at it. We'll look at Germany and we'll see how they're doing. I like to talk like this. Germany, and we have United States. So the U.S. economy is projected to grow by 2.7%, and Germany's economy is projected to not grow. Now, apparently Russia has more inflation, but their economy is kind of overheating at the moment. Let me see what wage growth is. So inflation rate is rather high in Russia at the moment. Let's see, wage growth, Russia. Okay, but real wages grew by like 10%. So inflation's high, but wage growth is also high. This is the IMF website, the International Monetary Fund's website. So while this looks bad, if you look at the actual number, like the wages, it's actually people's overall income is going up relative to inflation, and the Russian government is taking steps to try to calm it down. So like we have Germany, who is in a recession. Let me see, where's France? Let's see, is France doing good? Is France doing good? And let's look at the United Kingdom too while we're at it. We'll see how great their economies are doing. Oh no, I already looked at that. I'm looking for UK. Oh, United Kingdom. France's economy is not growing. It's stagnant. The UK's economy is stagnant. So yeah, something to keep in mind. So that is that. Okay, so I think that I'll just look at one or two. We'll look at a snakening, and then we'll end it off with that. Okay. So this is from the Daily Telegraph. Putin's crushing new offensive could be the end of Ukraine, but Ukraine's winning. Asking just because I'm from Ireland. Okay, let me just. Okay, if we're gonna look at, let's look at Ireland. Where is it? I'm looking for So I'm just trying to remember where it was. Country data. I wanted to look at countries. Ireland has a fairly stagnant economy. So Zex, I covered that at the closer to the beginning. I'll just go back quickly, just because it's relevant to this. So it is either going to be Kharkov, or they're just going to be launching a general offensive across the front. This is Deep State UA, by the way. You just type that in and this will pop up. This is a pro-Ukraine map. I think DMAT Military Summary has one that's a little more balanced. So we are seeing an offensive at Bakhmut, Marinka, Pervomaysk. Let's see here. The big one is, where's Chasiv Yar? Because there's a big one at Chasiv Yar. Yeah, there's a big breakthrough here in the Avdiivka area. So some people are speculating that the goal is going to be to create a salient there and to try to cut off some of the Ukrainian army. There's also speculation that that Russia might finally blow up the bridges across the Dnieper. And if they are able to blow up the bridges across the Dnieper, I think that will cut off the Ukrainian army from receiving supplies and reinforcements. Because they haven't done that so far, and I don't know how that's going to work. So Shoigu has said that that an offensive has started. He said it started for the first time a couple days ago. Let's see, where is it? Yeah, here we go. Newsweek. Okay, Newsweek is apparently down for maintenance, so I can't do that. So this is the other new cope. That Russia is winning this war because China is giving them weapons. That's the new narrative. Ukraine is only losing because of China. Like, it's not Russia. Russia doesn't have industry. Russia doesn't have technology. Russia doesn't have a arms industry. All of this is just coming from China, and that's the plan. It's North Korea and China. Russia was losing, and they bat phoned China and Iran and North Korea, and that's the reason why Russia's winning. So I might not go over this. The shortage, assembling 150,000 strong. The F-16s are not there yet, although they claim the F-16s are coming in a couple of weeks or days. But yeah, I think I might just end it here because my voice is getting tired. But that's where we are at the moment. Macron is talking. So I guess just maybe kind of the concluding monologue. It's looking like Ukraine is collapsing. Whether they're going to be collapsing now or in a couple weeks or what that even means. Russia is starting or will soon start some sort of offensive. It may be in a couple days. It may be next week, because next week will be after the end of the it's Orthodox Easter. This, by the way, anyone who's Orthodox, happy Easter. Christ be with you. So they're launching their offense. They might launch it right after Easter is over. And then Ukraine could potentially collapse, but we aren't sure exactly. So that's where we are at the moment. That's the news for this week. God bless everybody. In the words of the great Canadian philosopher Red Green,